guys, welcome back to another episode of the Web3 Quick Bites. This is the podcast where we jam to the latest beats in the decentralized world and chat with some of the brilliant minds in the Web3 industry. I'm your host, Olabisi, and today I'm super excited to be joined by Mrudul, the business development lead at NodeOps, who's been working in the Web3 space since 2021. See, what's super interesting about his journey is that he has worked across several Web3 infrastructure companies. I'm talking Chainstack, I'm talking Wow Labz. So he have got this unique perspective on what actually works when it comes to building partnerships and driving growth in this space. Right now at NodeOps, he's helping launch their Node token, which went live today, June 30th. And the tokenomics, like I said before, just went live, and hashtag Node launches today with listings of Binance Wallet, KuCoin, BitGet, with more exchanges coming. And they are positioning this as DePIN 2.0, which we are definitely going to dive into today's conversation. So on today's episode, we're talking about Web3 business development, what works, what doesn't, and the lessons learned from working at different blockchain companies. Plus, we are getting the story behind NodeOps and what they are building. I am Mrudul. Thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
Hi, Olavisi. Thanks for having me here. This is great. And yeah, things are kind of blowing up now. Kind of very exciting times for us. Token just got listed. A lot of good feedback that we're receiving from the community, but there's a lot more to build from here as well. But happy to be here to join you.
Awesome. So, first, I would like, before we get into today's conversation, I always like to ask my guests this question, which is, I would say, born out of curiosity, because I like to learn about how people found their way into the Web3 space, right? I mean, most people heard it from friends and people stumbled on it. But for you, how was your journey? How did you learn about Web3? And what made you decide that, okay, I really want to pursue a long-term career in Web3?
Sure. I think, my journey kind of started almost like around 2021, when before that I was a co-founder at LX, which was like an AR or VR startup. But later on, when it got acquired, I kind of ended up working with a team which was very much into Web3 development cycle side of things, and that's how I kind of took up the job of also exploring what goes on in Web3, what are the different products that people are kind of building. And these were the days when you used to see a lot of NFT marketplaces being built, centralized exchanges being built, DEXs being built. So that is where my exposure to Web3 kind of came in picture. And then it was just more about just working with multiple different teams across Chainstack, Horizen, Labs, as some consulting work, helping new projects spin up their own chains as well as products in general, and then now NodeOps.
That sounds exciting. So I have a follow-up question to that. Would you say your AR and VR background actually did prepare you for the Web3 space?
Sure. I mean, like at LaterX, we were building these like immersive AR, VR experiences, and one question kept popping up, like, who actually owned this data, right? And it was earlier us as a company, but later on, since we were providing a lot of these bespoke services to a lot of different clients that we were catering to, then it kind of became a thing of like, okay, this is still centralized, right? That's when I started paying attention to Web3 as well. The idea that people could own parts of the digital world they were interacting with, that kind of hit hard for me. And one of the aha moments was realizing that all this immersive stuff we were building would need an open, decentralized backend someday. And AR VR taught me how to design for systems and experiences, which is pretty much what we do in DePIN now, just more on the infrastructure side of things. So yeah, a lot of exposure, I'll say, in terms of the design thinking wise as well as architecture wise, and then how ownership is maintained in Web 2 and then Web 3.
Oh, awesome. So, still on infrastructure, just like you mentioned, you worked at some major Web3 infrastructure companies like Chainstack, Wow Labz. In those early days, what were some of the biggest misconceptions you had about what actually drives business development success in Web3 versus traditional tech?
So there are many. So I came in thinking if the tech is solid, the deals will definitely follow in, right? But that's just not how it works in Web3, right? You can have the best infra, you can have the best things or technical folks in place, but if the community isn't behind you, or worse, doesn't know you exist, nothing moves in Web3. And one of the biggest surprises was how much BD kind of overlaps with community and DevRel in Web3 in general. And in traditional tech, you're just talking to some decision makers, but in Web3, your decision makers are mostly Twitter threads, Discord mods, DAO boards, and then you need to just build trust in public, not behind closed doors, and like just closing deals in general with businesses.
So looking back at your time across these different companies that you've worked with, what patterns merged in terms of what partnerships actually moved the needle? I'm asking, were there common mistakes you saw that was repeated over and over across the industry?
So the ones that worked were always those that were tied to actual usage. So be it compute volume or be it validator activity or node utilization, real TVL, and not just PR buzz. So a lot of teams chase like logos and big announcements, right? But then nothing happens after the tweet. So that's the mistake I see. Um, and everyone wants to splash, but what matters is what happens 3 months later. Are people actually using the product itself? Is the partnership actually meaningful? So those are the areas where uh, a lot of kind of things or mistakes kind of happen. Another one is assuming partners like will figure it out on their own once the partnership has been announced. Even if the alignment is great, you just need to be in the trenches with them, like calls, handholding them, helping them with comms. Otherwise, it kind of keeps stalling in general.
Following up, following up on that. Now, we already talked about what works. So now let's talk about what doesn't work, right? I mean, if something works, of course, there are other things that doesn't work too. So what are some business development strategies that sound great on paper? It looks really amazing when you read it, but it consistently fails despite so many trials in the Web3 space.
Yeah. So let's let inbound drive partnerships. So that's one of the things that sounds efficient, but it's usually a dead end. We tried that in the early days, thinking traffic and community buzz would definitely transfer to partnerships interest. And we did get like good amount of business as well. But it didn't end up fruition for a longer term. You still have to go out, start the conversation, build context, earn trust. And that's also how some of like major of our enterprises deals have been kind of closed off. Another expensive lesson was trying to force Web2 style BD into Web3 native product, right? So the timelines, expectations, the cultural clash hard. One time a Web2 giant wanted 6 months NDAs, custom SLAs and security audits for a product that was still in testnet. It wasn't the right fit in general. So you'll still have to go out, reach out to folks, jot down people that you want to work with and see how it kind of aligns with your project's vision as well as then how many synergies that you can find off with each other.
And so I have another follow-up question for that, which is, do you think business development in Web3 is done differently compared to how it's done in Web2, or they are both operating from the same playbook?
Uh, Definitely, I think if someone who's coming from Web 2 and Web 3, from the business development standpoint, they'll definitely see a lot of difference. First being like the communication channel itself, right? So, even today when I talk to some of my Web2 friends who are working in like these giants, when I say that most of our conversation happens on Telegram, and they're like just in shock, like why, how do you guys still use Telegram, and isn't it not that efficient? Why don't you guys use Slack? I was like, okay, Slack is more of like for technical use cases, and then there's most of the conversations kind of end up happening on Telegram, and you have like long sheets of list of groups that you kind of end up having. But yeah, I mean, apart from the communication channel, I think the approach itself is kind of different because in Web3, there's a lot more focus given to the community and the traction that each of the projects this community can basically bring in, and this kind of works in both ways. So for your business and for the other clients' business as well. So that also is a very big role when it comes to just Web 2 and Web 3. And then there are a lot of different areas where BD kind of is a bit different in Web 2 and Web 3. But core fundamentals of meeting, talking, understanding problem statement, and others always remains the same as of in Web 2 or Web 3.
Thanks for shedding more light on that. So let's talk about NodeOps. Sorry. My first question for you concerning NodeOps would be, what drew you specifically to NodeOps and the DePIN space? Because given your experience at infrastructure for company, I mean, what gap would you see in the market that you figured out that NodeOps to uniquely fill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so I saw this growing jungle of decentralized infrastructure like over a year back, and a lot of these projects were coming in. Right? I think early ones were like Akash, which kind of gained really good hype, but then it kind of died down in middle. There is still like a loyal user base for Akash still now, but there was one thing that uh, was missing, which was there was no real orchestration layer. So everyone was spinning up nodes and hardware, but no one was stitching it all together in a more usable or friendly manner, right? And NodeOps had like a very clear vision, which is like making this mess usable, scalable, and very much like a plug and play system. And I was like, okay, yes, I want in this. Also, DePIN felt like a real category defining moment, and I wanted to help shape it. And it felt like we were early to something big, and with a chance to set the standard. So that's why the way we kind of set up our own testnet earlier, the kind of traction of over 700K wallets, active users on the platform, providing compute to the ecosystem, and then these community compute getting utilized on the different products that we've kind of built is kind of definitely the value that we wanted to bring in for the whole ecosystem.
Now, NodeOps solutions itself as DePIN 2.0, correct? From your business development perspective, how will you communicate this evolution to potential partners who might be figuring out what DePIN 1.0 even was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, DePIN 1.0 was basically like, let's make decentralized hardware work. So think again of Helium, Filecoin, etc. The problem was a lot of it was hard to use, hard to manage, and kind of siloed as well, right? With DePIN 2.0, I mean, it is all about orchestration. So it's cool now how do we make all this infra actually usable by developers and scalable by design, right? So you can consider NodeOps kind of makes compute feel a lot like AWS or GCP, but with crypto native incentives. So that kind of becomes the difference. So I usually like saying this, that when not replacing DePIN 1.0, we're just the layer that that's trying to make it work better in general. So yeah.
So let's talk about the TGU that went live today. Congratulations to you guys.
Mhm.
You guys just learned Node tokenomics through TGU, well, the TGU that went live today. Since well, from your own business development standpoint, how do you approach partnership when you have meeting token versus when you are purely service based? I mean, now I think our question now will be, what doors will having partner node open?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. I mean, so suddenly we're not just selling infra now. We're basically offering alignment, right? With having the node token been available. So with node, we can now co-incentivize growth, give tokens for meaningful contributors, bootstrap usage, or reward long-term behavior. So that kind of opens up deals that would never have happened in a service-only world, right? It also raises the bar. Now people expect you to deliver not just product value, but token utility. So you have to think bigger, long term. So cross collaboration with projects which already have token, bringing in more utility within not just the NodeOps ecosystem, but across different ecosystems as well. So, so there are a lot more opportunities that kind of gets opened up with having your own token in place, and then also working in tandem with some of the projects that we want to end up working with.
You mentioned that the token isn't being sold currently, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so any reasons for that? Or any reason why it is not being sold? They understand that, okay, there's certain allocation for partnerships and whatnot, but any reason why it's not being sold right now? I mean, people are actually, I mean, you probably have investors or people who want to buy and then trade it, but any reason why it's not being, we're not being doing that right now?
No, I mean, people can buy token from multiple areas. There's like also the airdrops given out to the users. Uh, so token, the token itself kind of plays a very central role in the whole NodeOps network ecosystem, where whatever transaction kind of happens in Node itself. So, again, like bringing in simplicity and things. So we have something called credit system in place. So for whatever node you burn, you get like equivalent dollar value worth of credits in the ecosystem, and then there's whole suite of products, including NAS, including cloud marketplace, including I'll say agent terminal and security hub, and so on and so forth. So uh, people can buy, sell node in itself starting today. We had this whole functionality of node token being utilized as credit or converting to credit, which kind of started almost a month back. So we already had utility before even listing the token on different exchanges.
Oh, yeah, I get it now. Thanks for the clarification. So still on Node, right? You guys have been able to secure listings on Binance Wallet, KuCoin, BitGet, with more to come. Can you walk us through the business development process of getting this exchange partnerships? And what do exchanges really care about beyond just having a token?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, most of the times exchanges want volume, but more importantly, they also want momentum. So they kind of look at, are people talking about you? Is there a real community to it? Is there actual utility to the token itself? And we showed them that NodeOps wasn't just a token, it was a platform with over 700K testnet users, 125K plus active NAS users, a great number of active validators that we kind of run in, including for enterprise as well as retail folks. strong partner interest that we have, and we treated each listing like a real BD deal itself. So custom decks, strong narratives, clear traction is what we focused on. And honestly, it's like a relationship at the end of the day. So you can't just show up 2 weeks before TG and just expect magic. So I think a lot of work has been went down with including everything from the CEO to our CFO and others in general to get these tier 1 exchanges and tier 2 exchanges working with us.
Awesome. But for the layman, they will think that you just have to reach out to Binance and say, okay, want to put our freaking want to launch a token on Binance, and then they just have to tap your fingers and then you get the door. But hearing you talk about that, there's an extensive process and work that you put into it. We need to put shed light on how these things work. I'm sure someone who's listening to that will have an understanding of how the process really works. I know there's assuming and there's security systems on this. So thank you for sharing that. So still on NodeOps, NodeOps deals with compute and AI infra, internet scale. How do you approach business development when your product is highly technical? And what's your framework for translating this complex infra benefits into partnership value?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, in terms of BD, I think you end up interacting with someone who's in the CEO position or operations position at the initial stages, right? And to them, I think I usually prefer basically having like a deep conversation with someone like a CTO or technical or protocol head, because that kind of easiest the job itself. But whenever I need to make things not so complex, I kind of take it in such a that instead of saying we have GPUs, I kind of end up saying you can run your AI models with 60% cheaper and 2x faster throughput. And similarly, instead of just saying orchestrated validators, I just end up saying you get enterprise grade uptime with zero infra headaches. So kind of more simplifying things in terms of how you kind of share about your products in general. So, and then we also build templates. So if you are an AI project, here's your compute stack, here's your cost breakdown, and here's how you go live plan kind of works. So it makes the decision super easy for and projects as well as and teams to basically understand in much easier fashion.
But in Web3, there's a common knowledge that things can be quite technical in this space, and so having to break it down to people to make them understand is actually a cheat code to getting more people, getting more users in the space. I love how you explain that, bring that to. So, NodeOps tokenomics, it's allocate 47.5% to the community, but the team is also building enterprise grade infra. How do you balance business development efforts between community driven growth and traditional B2B partnerships?
Honestly, I mean, we try not to treat them as a separate worlds. Every enterprise deal we do has a community element in it, whether that's compute credits or devs, staking incentives or co-marketing. And every community campaign we run is built on top of the battle tested infra that we have. So magic is in that overlap. So our goal is to make infra feel like a community product and make community feel like a growth in, not just a vibe. So yeah, I mean, that's how we kind of end up treating these two things in general.
I mean, they say, or I like to say, that community is at the heart of every Web3 project. I mean, no community, your project to count to die on arrival before it even takes off. So I love how NodeOps have actually put their community first, which is actually impressive. So you mentioned something earlier in our earlier conversation about compute and the AI infra space. So I noticed something that space is actually getting crowded. market is getting crowded. There are so many projects trending up, and they're all saying they're doing AI infra, they're doing compute and whatnot. From your BD experience, what's your strategy for positioning NodeOps against established cloud providers and other DePIN networks? What's your differentiation playbook if you want to share some of your secrets with us?
Sure, sure. Definitely. I mean, the whole cloud and DePIN space is kind of heating up. So our biggest edge is that we have got like incentivization aligned to it. So we're not just like an infra as a service company. We're like a coordination layer. So you use NodeOps, you earn, you run nodes, you earn, you stake, you earn. Also, we're building everything. So we already have NAS, we have cloud through which you can rent machines with GPUs and general compute itself. Then there's RPCs that we are kind of opening up things on. There's staking where a lot of things happen. You earn multiple rewards. There's agent tooling. So all these are things into one platform. Now that bundling makes us like quite sticky. Instead of integrating 5 vendors, you just work with like one provider like NodeOps. And finally, we not just trying to replace AWS overnight or GCP overnight. We're offering an alternative path for high growth projects that need flexibility, community, and speed. Right. So, and that's I think where we kind of end up fitting well in the overall ecosystem. 2 areas: one through our own products. Second, um, our products have mainly focused on retail side of things and developer side of things. And apart from that, since we have this huge compute in place, which can then cater to projects who think fast, build fast, and ship fast. So yeah.
That's really good to know. So thank you for sharing all that about NodeOps. I think my final question for you is learning all about NodeOps has been quite an eye opener. And I'm sure my audience or anyone maybe listening to this currently will they've learned one or two things about the AI infrastructure. Thank you so much for sharing your process and for letting me know that playbook secrets. I'm sure it can come in handy for someone listening to both. So my final question from here will be looking ahead, based on everything you've learned from Chainstack to NodeOps, how do you think the Web3 business development will evolve? And what skills should a business development professional be developing now to stay relevant on this space?
Sure. I mean, BD in Web3 is always evolving quite fastly, right? So tomorrow's BD folks won't just be deal closers. I feel they'll be part of strategy, part of ecosystem architecture, part of meme lord things. Um, uh, Also, you need to understand tokens, product loops, narrative designs, and communities all at once. So, um, like PD in general in Web3 is quite comprehensive. Um, I think you can't just get out by saying, okay, sorry, this is a bit technical, I can't understand, or I need to set things up in place, because a lot of folks in Web3 are a bit technical, know a lot of things, and you should also get up to speed with that. And in terms of how you want to, so you need to think from zero to execution. So starting from supporting them, how to build things, how to architect things, both on technical as well as community or marketing front, and then help them get to the market. So that's where a lot of BD folks need to kind of end up learning and would be successful once who are able to do that. So yeah, I think that would be the last piece I think I'll give an advice for.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that wraps up today's episode of the Web3 Quick Bite podcast. We hope you enjoyed the discussion. And if you have any feedback or questions, please reach out on social media at Web3 Quick Bite or send an email to web3quickbites@gmail.com. Thanks again to our guest, Mrudul, for joining us. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more exciting content. So be sure to subscribe and tune in.